And just like with any sport, the importance of a strong foundation is key. And to make sure you are standing on solid ground, our friends at the Foot Store are here to help us get the right shoes for the job. So what makes the Foot Store different from other shoe stores?
I think our medical background is one of the things. Also, we try to fit people for the correct shoe and not just the color of the shoe or not just the style of the shoe. That's the big part for us. We want to make sure we measure your feet, and what your foot measurement is isn't always what your shoe size is. But we want to measure the feet because then we know how that shoe fits or how a certain shoe might fit on your feet. So we watch you walk. We want to see whether you pronate, whether you are a heel striker, whether you are a toe walker up on the ball of your foot, any number of things, how high your arch is, how low it is. And then we make suggestions on shoes, and we'll bring out something if you have a specific shoe you want, but otherwise we'll bring out what we want to. And when we do that, then you can make the choice and take your pick of what feels the best to you. And some people think you can just wear anything to go run, and some people can. But others, if they're having problems with plantar fasciitis or knee pain or hip pain and even back pain, we really want to make sure we're fitting them for the correct shoe for their foot. So right now I have two shoes back here that we have customers who again have a leg length difference, they've had hip surgery, they've born with a shorter leg, and so what I'll be doing is taking the sole off of this shoe and adding a 1/2 inch lift on this and putting the sole back on. Same thing with this shoe, a little bit shorter or less amount. I think we're doing about 10 millimeters on this shoe. But again, that levels it out so somebody can run in their shoes and not have to worry about the change in height one to the other, especially if they're going to run the bridge run doing a 10K. Over time, that's just going to abuse the joints. So we fine tune. We're just not, here's your shoe, see you later. We try to make sure it's the best for that person, and if it involves needing a lift, we can do it. We do a great deal with inserts. Not everybody needs them, and you don't need to have them when you come in and buy a shoe. It's not that we're going to put you in an insert with every pair that we sell, but if the shoe is not supportive for what your foot need is, then we may suggest an insert. If the shoe's, again, what we want, then we typically are going to put you in a shoe that hopefully you don't need the insert. But we have about 20 different kinds of inserts, depending on your foot, again. Not everybody should be in the same company insert. So we do well with inserts. And we have actually one that we customize called Foot Balance, and you can get your sort of custom orthotic in about 45 minutes and you walk out the door with it. So shoes, there's different types, and you can spend anywhere from $50 up to, $200 basically on some running shoes. But the problem is that everybody thinks if they buy the $200 one, that's the best one for them. And it may not be. But the $50 one may not be the best one either. So you want to get a shoe that's, average pricing is about $120, somewhere around there. We sell shoes that are traditional shoes, Brooks, Asics, Saucony, Mizuno. But we also sell shoes like Ultra, Hoka, On, some of these companies that no one's heard of. And we understand what those shoes are doing, so that's why we bring them in to sell them. But the other part of this is how long should they wear that shoe? We see people coming in that they've had their shoes for 2 years. Well, athletic shoes are meant to break down, and they break down in mileage. So if you're standing in the shoe all day, or if you're walking in that shoe, or running in that shoe, or even just doing CrossFit in that shoe, that takes up wear and tear of the shoes. So we talk about 500 miles of wear on average. So somebody runs 2 miles 5 days a week, you've got 10 miles in a week, you've got 40 miles in a month, and you've got 400 miles in 10 months. So if that gives you sort of an average of what people are looking for. But again, we see people that have had the shoe, they loved it, they just don't want to change it, and they're still wearing the same thing 2-3 years later. Most people now know that they shouldn't buy a shoe the week before the bridge run. We still see people run the bridge in their boots, and in any number of shoes. I see people walk in their flip-flops doing the bridge. But if they're really truly going to run or walk it to try to really do well, then we want them to get their shoes 1 to 2 months ahead of time. Because then they can get used to them, they can start wearing them to build up their speed, their endurance for their run, and that makes a big difference in the long run rather than 2 or 3 days before.
Now remember, the Cooper River Bridge Run is right around the corner, so put some pep in your step and head on over to the Foot Store in Mount Pleasant, or you can always visit them online at footstore.com. Time to step out for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Living Local continues next.